Hello there, and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and the man joining me today has never been cast in Carbonite, and his name is Mike Roth.
It's I actually once I thought it was, but it was just Jello mold.
Oh,
Yeah, it totally something different, and you know
that's a weird bounty hunter to put you in a Jello mold.
Well, he was like, "I gotta take you somewhere," and he put me in a Jello mold.
Dead or alive.
Yeah.
I like it.
Quite embarrassing. I got photos.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see these. We'll look for those on the Facebook page. This week, as every week, I say it every week, we got a lot of movies to talk about because we watch a lot of movies. That's what we do, Mike.
That is. We watch a lot of movies.
Sometimes we watch the same movies.
Sometimes
we don't. We'll talk about that soon enough. So this week, I'm going to get started on what is on the marquee. The first movie I have is a movie called Mr. Church from director Bruce Beresford. Stars Eddie Murphy as a man named Mr. Church. That's the title character, so you know he's the star.
Yeah.
Mr. Church is a man, it starts out in 1971. He's a guy who is sent to be the cook for a single mom and her 10-year-old daughter. This mom, played by Natasha McKellen, her name is Marie. She was in a relationship with a married man. This man died, but kind of in his will, he left his cook and said he's going to take care of you because Marie has breast cancer and has been given 6 months to live. And so he says, my cook is going to take care of you.
Is this a comedy? No, I can't.
No. My cook is going to take care of you. He's going to take care of all your needs. And he left him. Her boyfriend was a wealthy man, left a lot of money to do it all. And so the movie is narrated by the 10-year-old daughter, Charlie. Okay. And she does not like this guy being in her house. She does not like Mr. Cook. She does not like anything. She just wants her mom. And she doesn't understand this. And she really bristles at just having this guy around. Eddie Murphy as Mr. Church is very mellow, even-tempered, just loves reading and loves cooking, and he has some secrets. Mm-hmm. And don't ask me about my secrets. Don't ask me about what I do after I leave here. Just know that I'm here to take care of you. 6 months turns into 6 years as her mom does not die from the original diagnosis. And young Charlie grows up into a 16-year-old girl, and she's been won over by Mr. Church and his food and their shared love of reading. The older version of Charlie is played by Britt Robertson there. And she and Mr. Church form this bond, after all these years. Her mom is dying, and Mr. Cook obviously cares about her after all this time being around her. And Charlie really struggles with her feelings for her mom. There's a lot of really hard moments in here. Just emotional moments where she kind of withdraws from her mom, kind of as a coping technique, trying to kind of preeminently dull the pain that she knows is going to come. Mm-hmm. And so as a 16-year-old girl, she starts to really pull away from her mom in the times that she needs her most. And you kind of just follow these two on their journey of life. She gets pregnant. Her and Mr. Church have a falling out and a reconciliation. And as I said, he has his secrets, and she kind of wants to know them, but she knows there's boundaries. And Eddie Murphy is really understated in this role, pretty mellow, mm-hmm. pretty great. He has a strong presence in this movie, a calming presence with her. And there's a lot of really great moments. You can feel the sweetness and the caring relationship between he and Charlie as he's taking care of her. He's the dad she never had. There's a couple moments in the movie where Mr. Church has to be aggressive, and those felt forced for Eddie Murphy. Yeah. It felt just, that didn't feel right. And as I'm watching the movie, I'm going, this feels like it would be a Samuel Jackson role to a T, mm-hmm. especially in those moments. And then I go and I read the IMDb, and it says, this movie was written for Samuel Jackson. Oh. That makes sense. But Eddie Murphy was really good in this movie, as good as I've seen him in quite a while, which isn't saying a lot. Mm-hmm. But I was really impressed with how he handled this role. As a guy who is just sweet, and the movie itself kind of goes through the expected paces. You kind of know where it's going to go. There's a little diversions here and there, but nothing major. It's basically just the life story of this. It wraps up a little too tidily for me. Like there is a little resolution at the end that basically comes in the presence of just a box that has all the answers to wrap up the movie, which is kind of disappointing. But I like the dynamic between the two characters, and I really liked Britt Robertson and Eddie Murphy in their roles, and it was an enjoyable movie. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
It's worth checking out.
I actually never heard of this movie.
Yeah, it's a
very
small movie.
small movie for Eddie Murphy. It used to be,
Well,
back in the 80s and 90s,
Yeah.
it was the summer movie.
Unfortunately, it's been probably since The Nutty Professor was his last hit.
Yeah.
And then, this is his first movie in 4 years since Tower Heist, I believe.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Man of a Thousand
Forgot
Words.
about
Both
that.
of those came out 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a little hiatus for him. But Britt Robertson is an up-and-coming young actress. You know, we saw her in Tomorrowland. We've seen her in a couple other things. I really liked her in this. So go check out Mr. Church.
All right.
What do you have?
Well, I have a sequel, long-awaited sequel for some people. If you've heard of Bridget Jones' Diary, well, she's now having a baby.
Oh, boy.
Bridget Jones is now 43, and it's her birthday. Her mom calls her up and kind of reminds her, hey, by the way, you still haven't had kids. You haven't settled down. Your life is not achieving what I want you to achieve. So Bridget Jones, she starts feeling the age and the time going by, and she's starting getting a little depressed. Her friend Miranda, played by Sarah Soleimani, she takes her out to a little kind of like a Lollapalooza type fest where everybody camps on the ground, and Renee Zellweger, Bridget, she ends up having a one-night stand with a billionaire.
Ooh.
And
Haven't we all?
Then again, then like less than a week later, and Bridget Jones, she's not really a promiscuous lady. This is just by situation. She runs into an ex-boyfriend and kind of hooks up with him.
Oh,
also,
boy.
she cannot tell who the baby's is.
We need Maury Povich.
She ends up telling both the guys, and both of them do what they can to be part of her life. Both men in her lives are completely different people. You have Colin Firth, who plays Mark. He is a more reserved person, but still very caring. And you have Patrick Dempsey, who plays Jack Quant, who's the billionaire, and he's the more outgoing, let's try new things, let's try love kind of type person. This really does sound like a bland plot. It really, I feel like I've seen this movie before. I was not excited to see this movie.
All right.
But there's a lot of genuine laughs. There was a lot of clever things, and a lot of the emotions in here were actually complex, even though the movie felt very linear. I found myself laughing out loud quite frequently and almost embarrassingly. I just really laugh. There's only 2 people in the theater, and I'm laughing my head off, and I'm covering my mouth trying to keep from laughing. This is a funny movie. It has a really good pace. It had some great acting, and the characters are a little bit more complex than what I'm making the plot sound.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you see the first? This is the 3rd in a trilogy, I believe.
This is second.
It's second? I thought there was 2.
I think it's just Bridget Jones' Diary.
Well, it could be. All right.
Was there a diary too?
I actually thought there was.
Oh, okay.
But that's neither here nor there. Did you see the original?
No, I've never seen the
So
original.
you're walking in cold off the street into this movie.
Yeah, I actually am probably the worst person to walk in on this because I've never seen the first one, and I really did not want to see this one at all. But you know, I'm doing it for you guys. I love you guys. So I go in there and I get in my seat and I start watching this thing, and slowly but surely she wins me over, and I'm smiling. I'm laughing at all these little jokes, this dry British humor.
Sure.
I'm enjoying this entire movie, and I was really surprised. I really was.
So, okay, I'm looking, as you're talking, this is the 3rd in the trilogy. There was Bridget Jones' Diary and Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason. That almost sounds like a spy movie, The Edge of Reason. And then, that was in 2004, so 12 years have passed.
Yeah.
They decided to wrap it up. Did you enjoy it enough that you would want to go and revisit the first 2 now?
If I wasn't so busy with all the other things I have to do,
Right.
I probably would.
So this is something like maybe it's back burner someday.
Yeah.
I might get around to that.
I think I will. They do mention what happens in some of the movies. It's a very small part. It's not necessary to enjoy this movie. Colin Firth and Renee Zellweger, they had a relationship in prior movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
But,
They're both in both movies. That's all I know.
And they do mention that they've had a relationship, but that's as far as it goes. I don't think anything else in there was necessary for you to actually watch one of these prior movies. But I probably will, just because I did enjoy this one.
So what did you give Bridget Jones's Baby?
And again, I surprised myself. This is one of the better comedies of the year. I gave it a 4.
Holy cow!
I know. I was like, so maybe a 3.5, and I'm like, no. I generally laughed. Colin Firth, he's a great actor.
He really is. I mean, it's a good cast. Patrick Dempsey has always been a favorite of mine.
They did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
They were really good.
Hey, that's great.
The writing was good.
What is wrong with having a surprise movie that you love,
I have no idea. I'm usually surprised, I guess, if this is the third in a trilogy that I have not seen, and I enjoyed it this much. That surprises me. That really does.
That is great. 4 out of 5 stars.
4 out of 5 stars.
Who knew? Man, I did not see it.
I did not.
I guess I might have to get to that because you enjoy it.
You didn't see me with the
I didn't see either. I didn't see the movie, and I definitely didn't see you giving it 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
Very good. Very good. All right, go see Bridget Jones's Baby. Who knew?
Who knew?
Wow.
Now on to the others.
All right. Next on the marquee, we have another third movie in a trilogy that has been a while. Only we're not really going to say it's a trilogy. The filmmakers don't want you to remember that this is a third movie. I am talking about Blair Witch, the pseudo-sequel to the Blair Witch Project. Forget the other one that came in between. That has nothing to do with this. From director Adam Wingard. And this one picks up with the original Blair Witch Project tape was found in the Black Hills woods. One of the young men, James, he believes his sister is in that tape. She is the girl in the Blair Witch Project.
This really blurry VHS
He's
tape.
like, I'm pretty sure that's my sister, and she's out there. So he gathers up 3 of his friends, and they get 2 other people who were the ones who found the tape in this burned-out old stump. And they're going to go out into the woods, and they're going to find the Blair Witch. They're going to find the house, and we're going to find her the sister or the answers. And we go into the woods, and it is very much set up. Well, you have to explain, because this is found footage, the original Blair Witch Project being one of the granddaddies of found footage. Yeah. And one of the more successful ones. So you have to explain why they have the cameras. You know, we do have reasons for them to have the cameras. They have these weird little, like, earpiece cameras, too.
Yeah, cameras.
Yeah, so, like, it explains why there's footage, which baseline you have to explain that. They go out into the woods, and the movie kind of adds on to the lore of the Blair Witch, kind of gives you some more things about her, like apparently you get out into the woods, and she has this weird ability once you're in the woods to distort time. People disappear for a couple hours, they return, they say they've been gone for days. I've been lost in the woods for days.
I think that's the only thing that they really kind of borrowed from 2, because that's what 2 essentially
2 didn't
was.
happen, Mike. There is no 2.
2 did not
this
happen.
This is 2. Also, unlike the first movie, there is no daylight. Nighttime is eternal. They wake up at 7 in the morning. It's still pitch black. It's still night. So you don't have the cycle of waking up and be like, what happened last night? That was crazy.
Yeah.
It's still crazy. This movie, being the found footage, is dizzying with the cameras and the light being your only source of what's going on. What'd you think of Blair Witch, sir?
Well, you already know my opinion of found footage films.
Right.
I think it's a terrible gimmick, but I don't know. Is it still considered a gimmick after 20 years of people doing this every year like it's brand new?
But you're making a sequel to Blair Witch. You have to kind of do that.
We've seen the sequel.
Yeah, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was a really, really bad movie.
I'm one of the few people who hated the Blair Witch so much that I actually thought the sequel was better. And it's a bad movie.
It's a really
really
bad
is.
Movie.
But better than Blair Witch.
Okay.
These found footage typically don't have plots. They typically don't have good art direction. It's just a mess of what people could throw together with a camera. This is no different. This is trying to copy the granddaddy of that they tried doing 20 years, which felt like an original concept, kind of came out of nowhere because it had such a little budget and it came out in a limited release and it caught on like wildfire.
Yeah.
That was 20 years ago when it was original idea. Now they've done this over and over and over again every year, and they're coming out and they're like, well, let's do another Blair Witch, and it's the same crud.
It is a large chunk the same movie. They're trying to kind of recapture the magic of the original Blair Witch Project.
Well, I didn't think the first one was magic.
Well, that's where we differ a little.
I do think that the acting in here is better. I think, and I hate to say it, I actually like Adam Wingard. He does one of my favorite movies, You're Next.
Yeah.
Came out in 2011.
I mean, he's really hit and miss with his horror movies. He makes some good ones. He makes some really bad ones.
I love You're Next.
Yeah.
This one, I don't think he got the concept. He wanted to do what a lot of these found footage people do, and they wanted to direct a movie, have good shots. Some of these shots cannot be explained by multiple cameras. Why would someone throw a camera down a tunnel the opposite way so that they're crawling into a light? That's just silly. You want the light in front of you so you can see what you're doing. Some of these ear cams by the women who have long hair that goes over their ears,
Right.
You cannot get a shot through thick head of hair, but, here it is. And they got some of these cinematic scenes that you cannot get from found footage. It's done by a director who wanted to do found footage, much like the Pyramid that I complained about 2 years ago, where it looked like everybody wanted to be a director, but they're not directors. They are just people holding cameras. This is not an original idea. I have to say the acting is a little better. I was more interested in the end than I was in the original Blair Witch, but as my interest grew, it became more and more unwatchable with the sloppy running around, running into a wall, getting dizzy, getting sick. I close my eyes not because of fear, but because I'm getting ill and I can't watch the movie.
Okay, now, to be fair, you've said this about every found footage movie. You just can't handle the found footage. And I agree, I don't like found footage as a genre, but it's truly dizzying, and I understand why they have to do it. And I actually like the finale of the movie quite a bit. It's probably my favorite part of any of the movies, is the finale of this movie. There was a lot of, I don't want to get into spoilers about why, but like they explain the end of the original one, why that creepy thing at the end, why the guy is standing facing the corner. You see it for a split second, and it cuts. They explain why people are standing in the corner with the witch. There's things I liked and things I didn't like. I thought that there was some moments of true claustrophobia for me that really worked for me, that made me really uneasy. Like, I don't want, there's the tunnel scene you see in the trailer, and I'm like, I was really feeling it. There was a moment of like panic over me. Like, I don't think I can handle that. There was some really brutal injuries that kind of really grossed me out. Girls with things in their legs, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't want to look at that. Those worked for me. And I thought that the buildup in the woods was a little too long. I missed the fact that you had the daylight in the first one to kind of regroup and be like, that was crazy. We need to get out of these woods tonight. And much like in the first one, you can walk and walk and walk and walk in the same direction all day, and you end up right where you started because the witch has magical powers. I didn't like some of the things, the constant jump scares. I thought there was way too many jump scares as they're in the woods of people just running in like, hey, where have you been? Like, okay. To the point where even in the movie, you're like, okay, I've had enough of this. They say it themselves. Like, I've had enough of these. That got really old. And that is like the constant of these films. I thought that was kind of weak. But I enjoyed some things of this movie more than I expected.
What about, I like some of the concepts. I actually did like the whole, it felt like the room 1409, I think that was the name of it.
1408?
1408, where it felt like time was not your friend.
Right, exactly.
When things never got better. I enjoyed that part. Parts that I don't enjoy is because it's found footage, things like, I don't know how this person died. I don't know what's going on because they're walking and it just seems like you're seeing limbs and leaves for a good 5 minutes. The end scene, I think there was a couple of ideas that they had that they just kind of threw away, but they kept in the film at the same time.
See, I like the finale. I like the finale quite a bit. I like that they expanded on the original a little bit, gave you some explanation.
I was interested, but I'm thinking part of that interest was because I could not watch it and I had to keep my eyes closed to keep myself from being sick. And I wanted to know what was going on, but I knew I couldn't watch it without having to leave early and getting a drink of water.
Well, okay, so what did you ultimately give Blair Witch?
I gave it a 1.5.
1.5 out of 5. I thought this movie was actually a little above average for the genre, a genre that is pretty weak. I thought it was an above average film. The problem is the genre itself is below average, and so I cannot give it a higher score than 2.5. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5.
Wow.
I hope that there's more Blair Witch movies, but I don't know how they could make them without constantly repeating what they're doing.
I would like them to do kind of what they tried doing with 2, but don't make 2. Just say, okay, we're going to make a movie about the situation instead of trying to make it a found footage documentary every single time.
Let's stop with the found footage. All right, moving on. What is the last movie we have on the marquee, sir?
We have Snowden. Oliver Stone directs Snowden, basically about Edward Snowden. He was an agent that uncovered the U.S. Ring of spying.
Spying on our own people, spying on everyone?
Yeah, spying on everyone, tapping into phones, tapping into cameras. He was familiar with the programs that was able to do this. He snuck it out of the facility, and then he pretty much gave it to the world. This is... that's the meat of the story. We also have the side story, which I thought was more interesting, which was about Edward Snowden and his girlfriend and his relationships with people. Lindsay Mills, played by Shailene Woodley.
Yeah.
I think their relationship was extremely interesting amidst this really powerful story. Oliver Stone, he has this typical style of he wants to tell you a story, but he also wants to inform you at like a breakneck speed where it almost feels like it's bogging you down. That's how I felt in the middle of this movie. It was like a really good movie surrounded by a bunch of...
See, I thought that Oliver Stone did a really good job of explaining the grandness and complexity of everything in this movie and the circumstances. I mean, I know the story of Edward Snowden. I've seen the documentary about him, but I thought that he did a really good job of explaining the complexity of little things that went on that really were things that opened his eyes.
Yeah.
You know, that made that Edward Snowden kind of realize, like, there's some bad things going on here that I'm a part of. The movie at the beginning tells you this is a dramatization of actual events. This is not, this is the true story. It is a dramatization.
It's based on 2 books. One was the first book that came out about Edward Snowden that a lot of people said was fictionalized, and then another book which is completely fiction about an American whistleblower.
I mean, this movie, it has an agenda.
Yeah.
It's an Oliver Stone movie. He always has an agenda. He does a fairly good job of presenting his side, but it is kind of one thing. It does a good job of I think, of showing what a post 9/11 America was directly afterwards, and like the fog of confusion about the argument of freedom versus security, invasion of privacy versus safety, and all of the new questions that people had to answer without answers.
No.
You know, and they're trying to kind of work their way, and how the U.S. used that fear and used all of these unanswered questions to find loopholes to spy on everyone. Illegal wiretaps. Turning on your computer to watch you while you're remote watching you. All of these things, I thought that was really good. My only issue is at times they really painted Snowden as just a Boy Scout. Yeah. He went into this with his eyes open. He knew what he was doing. And at times it felt like, wow, but I was the good guy.
Yeah.
And, there's shades of gray. Is he a hero? Is he a traitor? There's shades of gray, but I think a lot of times it really tried to paint him like, but he's the good guy and everyone else is the bad guys.
I think one of the things I did like about this movie, which they did not expand on enough for me, is the whole reason of why we don't want this spying. A lot of the common thing to say is, if you're not doing anything wrong, I don't care if people are watching me. And they did have a little scenario in here where it was like, yeah, no one did something wrong, but they used information from people that was affected with that person's lives to control that one person. And that's the reason why you don't want...
It was I love that moment when they explained that web.
That was great. They needed to do more of that and less of the name dropping and scenario dropping, which they did heavily in the middle, which I felt bogged down this movie.
Well, and
which is terrible because they had some great actors.
Oh, it was a huge cast. I mean, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Edward Snowden, I thought was really good.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage never does anything wrong.
Nicolas Cage shows up as a crazy conspiracy guy. Perfect. I mean, you have Tom Wilkinson, you have Melissa Leo and Zachary Quinto as the journalists. They are the people who are actually in the documentary, who made the documentary about Snowden.
You even have Edward Snowden.
Right. I thought there was a really good transition at the
Same
end
here.
into the real Edward Snowden and him giving his feelings to the camera. It lends a certain credence towards this is what really happened. I'm putting myself on camera. Yeah, this is my side of the story.
Actually, I read he had nothing to do with the script. He didn't.
No,
see
he
the
didn't have
script or
anything to do with the script.
Yeah.
But to transition into him, he has to okay that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so it does kind of lend like, okay, so this is his side. I get it. And we've seen his side. I thought that was really interesting. I thought that Oliver Stone has his style, and we keep flashing back and forth into different things and different timelines in the movie. I think it worked for the most part. I thought that the cast was good for the most part.
I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt was excellent, but he's always really
He's a really good actor. I gave the movie 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked how they explained things, and I thought it worked out well.
That's fair. I give it a 3. It is a good movie. I just that middle felt a little bogged down, way down, and I wanted him to explain a little bit more of the things that I thought the movie was doing well in. Sure. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Kind of branching off of that, we want to throw back to a movie that came out in 1999. Mike, we're going to throw back to a movie that we had a little miscommunication on which movie we were doing. A movie that came out in 1999 by director Michael Mann about a whistleblower that tried to take down Big Tobacco. The movie is called The Insider, and this movie was nominated for several Academy Awards. Russell Crowe stars as Jeffrey Wygard, who is a guy who is a recently fired research biologist for a big tobacco company. Al Pacino is Lowell Bergman. He is a 60 Minutes producer. This is all based on actual events. Who is trying to convince this guy to tell the truth about big tobacco and what they actually knew about what they did knowingly to the American public with their products and the lies they told to Congress. And so you have Christopher Plummer as Mike Wallace from 60 Minutes, and the movie really deals with trying to convince him that it's okay to really say the truth. And the fallout from that and the lawsuits from Big Tobacco trying to basically shut down CBS because of this. The threats that Jeffrey Wygard received, the death threats that he and his family received, the threats that went towards CBS and 60 Minutes, and most importantly, the backdoor politics that kind of obscured and almost eliminated the truth about what these tobacco companies were doing and the lies that they were telling. And it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
And what movie did you see?
I saw The Informant with Matt Damon. It sounds kind of the same, but it's not.
It's not the one.
No.
We saw movies, though. That's what we do.
But
I would say go watch The Insider, and we'll talk about The Informant maybe for a different throwback segment.
Maybe like 5 years from now.
Why not?
Yeah.
Quickly, let's take a look ahead at what is coming out in the upcoming week. We are going to have Deepwater Horizon, starring Mark Wahlberg as a man on an oil rig that explodes based on true events.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And Kate Hudson. You also have Masterminds, a movie starring Jason Sudeikis, starring Kristen Wiig, starring Zach Galifianakis, about a bumbling couple of security guards who decide to make for a big payday.
Yeah, they've been advertising this one for a while.
There's been some issues, and we'll talk about it when we get to it. And finally, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, based off of an extraordinary book, X-Men for Teenagers.
I'll probably see it a couple of times.
I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that. So those are the movies that will be coming out soon. We want to, of course, thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, for sponsoring the show. We do appreciate the Palace. We love you. If you want to find more from us, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Real Reviews TV. We'll get you there. But until next week, My name is Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.